Okay, so StreamYard says you are live. Thank you, StreamYard, for helping us get to go like this evening. Yeah, it's been a lot of so everyone that is able to connect. We apologize that we were unable to start at 2 p.m. What happened? We had a lot of technical difficulties. So we're gonna have to switch other platform, and we are going to live, right? Okay, the rest is story. It's always good and great to live. Teresa, let me confirm again that can you hear me?
I can hear you, but the sound is a little distorted. So it comes and goes, but for most part, I can hear.
Okay. How does it sound now? It sounds better now.
It sounds better.
Okay. Better has to continue. Okay. All right. Yeah. Like I said, again, it's always interesting to be here to get to address issues. You share research to show what we're doing with the world and to keep our community abreast of a number of developments, from what we are working on. So we have been on this chat some time. This is part four, right? This is part four. We have been working on this for some time and looking at the global risk report and African education system. So we started by looking at every of the risks that the report highlight. And it's so interesting that we've been able to come deeper in this conversation. Um, I see again that this topic is a very, very crucial one, a very heavy one that everyone in the education landscape in Africa should think about. And every educator in Africa should think about this. Every student in Africa should think about this, and also what it means for us as a community, as an education community. Um, Knowing again that the education community of Africa, set of Africa, is a pillar that's going to drive transformation in Africa, that can only drive transformation in Africa now and then. And so we're happy that we are having this conversation and we're looking at what it's like. First, I'm going to hand over to you. I know you have a number of things to say about where this has started from and where we are and the topic we're looking at for today under the virus report. Right. So once again, Teresa, thank you so much. I hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our topic today is incidentally refreshing resilience. And for everybody watching, I think it's just apt to add that our host today has shown refreshing resilience from running in the rain to trying to find shelter to get back to get into studio. We've had some interruptions, we've had some challenges, but the one thing that he said is we are not giving up. So props to you today for showing some great resilience because I think that is, you know, we have real life examples always to draw from, and I think that is why we won't give up. You know, this is a topic
Yeah.
that has such important implications, not only for what we have as a vision, but I definitely think um, for our respective countries, for our continent, and definitely for the world as well. So I think when we speak about resilience, to bring it into context, when we go back to the global risk report, the reason for this is because we want to highlight how important it is that we pay attention to what is actually being discussed on larger platforms, and how sometimes we are so out of touch with this because we sometimes assume that it doesn't have anything to do with us. But I think today, once again, when we delve into the topic, we'll see how important it is that we actually discuss these topics especially because it has an impact on what we do on the ground. So I think just to give it a little bit of context, as always, we've highlighted all the different risks that have been identified by the Global Risk Report. And we've gone into a series of discussions of each one individually. And I think we have one more topic left, and we're sort of saving the best for last. But towards the end of the report, they highlighted the refreshing resilience as something that we also definitely need to pay attention to. So, yes, that's the context that we need. When we bring this into the discussion, the focus is on COVID 19 and how the impact of something that was so global and so serious and so all encompassing. We have a look at why we want to have a conversation about that and how it turns into, or how it turns or relates to resilience. So that's what our topic is going to be about today.
Yeah, definitely. Refreshing resilience, and for Africa, so I think during the week, I've been trying to do a research on the state of Nigerian economy. So let me talk about Nigeria right now. Allow me to be selfish for a moment. So
No problem.
I was doing this research about Nigerian economy. Where we are, the projection of the of IMF and the World Bank for Nigerian and for Nigerian economy, the projected growth of for Nigeria, GDP growth for Nigeria for the year, and what it means, like the connection between dollar and naira, and all of those things happening, and I see that right now, um, for Nigeria, speaking for Nigeria right now, and with the condition of the economy right now, and what the economy is saying right now in Nigeria, um, and thinking about 2030 and beyond for Nigeria, um, I see that the matter of resilience for the kids, every child from year 8 to year 12, by 2030, they would be in the global workforce. They'll be in the global labor market. Every child from year 8 to year 12. And because we understand right now that it's not too early to start preparing the kids for these realities. It's not too early to start having this conversation with these kids, because they need to be very aware about the future, about the present, and also about the future that they are going into, right? So that as they begin to take ownership of their learning adventure, they can also know what it is they need to start learning beyond the scope of the K-12 curriculum. Of course, we'll get to that. We'll talk about blending and restructuring what we call curriculum at K-12 level. We'll still get to that place where we need to really blend context with what it is in the textbooks and all of that. I like to say that no textbook can tell you what is happening today. You no textbook can tell you exactly what is happening today. So, but we do know that the leaders of tomorrow, the kids in the schools we have today across Africa, right? If they're truly going to become the leaders of tomorrow, they need to be exposed to the likely problems of tomorrow. Right? So if they're going to become the leaders of tomorrow, if they don't have engagement with the likely
Okay, I'm
problems
sorry,
of tomorrow.
your sound is just distorted there again. Can you repeat that part?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So I was saying that the leaders of tomorrow must be engaged with likely problems of tomorrow, right? So that they can really be prepared to face what their future holds for them. You know, um, so knowing that we are in a place where projections into economies is showing that this is really going to be a sort of tough time, and so it's a more complex context. It's a more complex situation, right? I mean, I can say for the African continent right now, right? Then this is telling us that for the future and for these kids that are coming, we need to engage them right now with with an experience that will teach them resilience early, early. They need to learn resilience early by having a feel of what the economy looks like. It bothers me that what we're doing in schools doesn't look like what is going on right now. Right? It doesn't look like what is going on right now. I just like a case of Nigeria, and what the economy looks like and what the society looks like. But then it looks like these kids are just having another kind of experience. That also they are not having a real time thought, right, with the reality. All right. And I think why that sorry, excuse me. And I think why that is a big problem is because then what it means is that they are not being prepared for the reality, right? That we're fighting for, right? We're looking forward to an Africa that will not look like what we've seen the past 10, 15, 20 years, right? And so, if these kids who will be the driver of this reality, coming from K to 12, foundation of the whole thing will look for, if they do not have a first-hand experience or engagement with what is currently happening right now, bother about how they will be able to address the problems in their own future if they do not have that engagement. So talking about refreshing resilience and what it means for the African education system, the first thing I still want to look at again is the fact that the African education landscape must reckon with the fact that there's a lot of alignment effort that needed to be done in terms of what happens in the classroom, the learning experiences, right? Modeling it in such a way that a lot of the things happening today, context right there in the real world is brought into the classroom. And these kids are given the opportunity to engage with the context today. And so as they're doing that, peradventure, they've all got potentials that have a lot to offer Africa, but we really cannot know what they have to offer until we engage them with the problems of Africa and say, kids, this is the problem. What can you do? And then we'll begin to see kind of things happening, coming up and all of that. So for me, Teresa, if you ask me, this is what I think it starts from, right? Reckoning with the fact that we need to align our efforts as an education community in Africa with the realities, right? It's not out of place. It's not too early to introduce these kids to authentic and root problems, right? I know that by structure, all we have is a lot of simple problems, right? And we have simple problems and we have complex problems. A simple problem just has a single answer. You're solving a simple problem, you're gonna get just one answer, right? So everything we're doing WAEC in all the terminal exams, the CAP, and those exams, by structure, they are loaded with simple problems. But we know that right now, these kids need to engage with complex problems. They need to be faced with real problems that are so that the leaders of tomorrow are able to solve the problems of tomorrow. Else, we'll get into that future and we won't be able to do anything because they weren't just prepared. That's what is happening right now. That's what is happening right now in Africa, right? For example, in Nigeria, we release multiple of youths, they are leaving the university, every year. We have millions of them leaving every year. Then these people don't have anything to offer the economy, right? And we hold this to our education system because it did empower them sufficiently, right, to see problems and be able to provide practical and tangible solutions, right? So we know that the kind of Africa we want, right, we need to go back to I'm not going to university, but universities have gone
Hold on,
way beyond where.
can you just repeat that part again, please?
Yeah, so I'll say that for the Africa we want, we know that we need to go back and start from K to 12. Not even talking about university and the institution. We need to go back to 12 because we want to have Africa has the largest number of youth learning, and because we have a lot of young people. And so these young people are well engaged, right, and well prepared for their own future. We discover that in their own future, they have so many solutions to offer Africa as a continent, and that will reflect on our level of transformation that we have been able to experience.
It is, it is, it is. When you say that word, just empower, like education just empowers. empowers them. And if you think about it, that is actually sad because a university degree is supposed to be able to sustain you on a personal level, and it is supposed to contribute to the economy of a society, a country, a global village. And if that is not what is happening, then the education system has failed or the process has failed. And I think that is the part that we actually want to speak to. And the reason why we have to come and why we want to speak, especially about the COVID 19 situation, is because here we had something like a simple um, microscopic little virus that caused disruption in the entire world. And we want to take a look at the response to that from different perspectives. And ultimately, we want to take a look at what are the lessons that we are supposed to learn from exactly that. Because what you are speaking about, especially with regard to young people, the journey they have, where they go, and what happens to them, that is exactly the situation we want to prevent. So while we want to celebrate all the efforts out there that are working towards the goal, we all and people that are already doing this and having projects running that speak to this, we also want to just through this empower those that are not paying attention to this, and not sort of falling into suit again. So just before we continue, again, we just have to come back to the numbers. If we take a look at FDI, that is a foreign direct investment. We spoke about that last week as well. So, as a result of the COVID 19, by the time this report was tabled, there was a nosedive of 16% in FDI on the continent.
mm,
And why is that an important thing to look at? If you take a look at Africa, our continent, and our livelihood, what we are able to access, what we don't have access to, the kind of economies in the different countries in the continent, especially, this is an important figure because it also has ultimate consequences on what happens in our society in general. And I think why this is so important is because if you take a look at what happened with the COVID 19 situation, the economy was affected to the point where it now affected everything else as well. It, the healthcare system, the social system, education. Uh, it was a situation where we now needed to take a look at what mitigation needs to happen in order to just save lives. And this dilemma, unfortunately, was handled very well by countries that had access to resources and countries that did not have access to resources. They felt this at a deeper, heavier level. And I know that comparatively speaking, if we talk about loss of life, we can't make that comparison. But I think the impact on economy, on livelihood, on the general day-to-day running of our countries, I think that is where we have to pay attention to this because it is the approaches to something as big as the pandemic that that necessitates a different way in schooling our kids so that if something like this happens again, we have produced learners who are resilient enough, who are forward thinking enough, who are innovative enough, who are problem solvers, so that when there is a situation as dire as this, they can spring into action immediately and effect the kind of changes or mitigation that needs to happen. One of the interesting things that I came up with is in one, I think it was the 2016 Global Risk Report. One of the risks that was highlighted is the possibility of a global scaled pandemic. That was in
mm.
2016. And then it
Wow.
actually happened, and we actually
Mm,
were all affected by it.
mm, mm, mm. Awesome. Thank you for pointing that out. It was projected and then it happened. And so what you've highlighted right now, again, we see the need for our schools to shift from paper problems to real problems. So we want to have kids who are engaged, real problems in the classroom. And so we're saying this to every educator listen out there, to every school leader listen out there. We
Okay.
need to,
Okay. You're going to have to repeat that again. There was some distortion again.
yeah, it's fine. Have an sounds better.
Sorry.
Yeah, have now. It sounds better.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, great. So what I'm saying here is that to every educator, to every school listening to this conversation, in Africa, we need to shift drastically away from problems. Because if we expose our kids only simple problems, and then when they get out there, they encounter complex problems. They can't handle it. Um,
Okay.
which is the reason why,
I'm so sorry to interrupt you there again, but there's definitely a problem with the sound there.
really, how does it sound now? Is it better?
There we go.
Okay, great. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that to every educator, to every school leader out there, one thing we see right now is that we shift away from the paper problems, which is quite balanced, but I've seen paper problems and engaging our kids in the schools with real problems, with real problems. So we don't know how we let these kids engage with simple problems in the school, and then when they get out there, they face complex problems. I know it's like I can handle this. I know what this is all about, right? We need to drastically move away, like five to striking the balance between paper problems and the real problems. So we're saying to every educator out there, when we begin to do this, we begin to give these kids an opportunity to engage in reality. Because I always say that we need to be in the mood of reality to prepare for that reality. And we need to be in the atmosphere, the reality, to prepare for that reality. So if we are going to prepare the coming generation for these realities, we need to create the atmosphere of this reality, of these problems. We need to create the atmosphere in the school premise, right? And then engage. School must be willing, to let go of so many things right now, right? There's an aligned problem that we're seeing right now. There's a serious alignment problem that we're seeing right now, right? And then it just keeps looking at it, the gap between school and reality is just getting wider and wider and wider because school has failed to accept the fact that the reason why school exists is for the world out there. So if the world out there is showing some reality, school must think of how to solve the issues, about how to align, the kids for these realities. And if we begin to do this in Africa, what will happen is that we're going to have a generation of young people who are strong enough, who are resilient. Of course, in Africa we're resilient, but the times are changing, and the coming generation need to understand the fact that they will live in a world that will become more complex, and they need to be able to handle all of the challenges that would be presenting. It seems like something not big, right? Why? Because there are things serious. I'm very concerned about the state itself experience. What happens
Very
actually?
concerned about.
Yeah, about the 12 years experience, the 12 years, the 12, right? The 12 years experience. So, if in that 12-year experience we are not able to listen, who have that mindset of a problem solver, who are able to expect problems and think of providing practical solutions, then when we have we are going to build that mindset, right? Building that mindset requires engaging with tough, real, and complex problems. We waste silently what the cities are doing with destination imagination, uh, and then I was mentioning that one of the schools we work with in Nigeria, primary school kids, they started working on a project recently where they wanted to highlight common illness in community and then provide solutions to that particular. So
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't hear that part. Can you repeat that?
okay, I once mentioned that one of the schools we work with, so the primary school kids, they started working on this project on common illness in the society, right? So they are going to find out the common illness in the society in your community where the school is, and then they will also go ahead to make some effort providing solutions to what the common illness are. So what they have done right now is that they have gone out for interviews. So these primary schools have gone for interviews to meet, I think last time I checked their report, they were able to meet 100 plus people, 100 plus adults. They were able to meet 100 plus and, asking them about a sickness they had recently in the last 1 month. And, they come with documentation. I think on that list, the highest I saw there was malaria. Right. So number of illnesses highlighted there. Malaria had the highest count, And so the next thing they're going to do right now is to put information to the health center. They will present that to the health center and discuss with them what they have found, and engage with them to come and have an awareness program with the people living in that community. So it's a collaboration between the family school and the health center, right? To get these people aware and also understanding what they need to do to prevent this sickness and all of that. So you see primary school kids right here in Africa, right, going out into the community to provide solutions to something, right? So if right at that stage, these kids have that kind of mindset, oh yeah, I can imagine if they continue in that kind of atmosphere, what do we do when they get to secondary school? You know what I'm talking about?
Um, those are real life examples, and those are the experiences that we want to provide through education. And the example that you mentioned there is actually so valuable because it actually mirrors exactly what was supposed to happen with the COVID-19 situation. Now, like I mentioned previously, some countries were able, the response to that was done in a very proactive way, while some countries were still scurrying along, trying to figure out what it is that they were supposed to do. And part of the risk report highlighted exactly that. The lessons that we can learn as a whole society, especially from a situation that we were faced with. So, one of the things that they highlighted was as a poor response was complacency. And I
Mm,
like this word so much because complacency implies that, you just have this attitude that somebody else's problem is not my problem, or we'll
mm,
come to that at another stage. We've got other more important things to talk about now. And
mm,
I think that is where we make the mistake.
mm,
Response strategies was another one of the shortcomings in responses by certain countries that was deemed as a reason why the situation wasn't mitigated sooner. And I think
mm,
also, if you think about just those two words, complacency and response strategies. If we don't
mm.
plan a response strategy ahead of time, if we are not forward thinking enough, then when a
Yeah.
situation like this faces us, that is when we run into trouble because we are not
Mm,
ready. And we know that there were
mm,
many governments that weren't ready to handle a pandemic of such a nature. Um,
yeah.
what that then also led to was the inability by these specific governments to maintain social trust, societal trust, because if you don't have the trust of your society as the governing power, then the kind of mitigation that needs to take place cannot happen effectively. So, if a president announces a lockdown and that means that movement between people is limited, that means going to your workplace, that means affecting your livelihood. Those are things that come into play. And I think we can relate to that because in most of our
Yeah.
countries, that was the situation. So
Yeah.
the compliance from society is something that can only happen if there is a strong response from the people that govern. And I think if we think about decision making, if decision making is not principle based, then this is also going to affect how the society responds to this. So all of this ties in, and all of this is just um, a whole lot of what is contained in the activity that you have just described. So if you have learners that are sort of mirroring something that actually happened, and if you have them going out and trying to solve a real life problem, then you are working on all these aspects that I have just mentioned. And I think that is what we are alluding to. We want an education system that is now going to result in better learners that are going to happen,
Mm.
that are going to handle future problems of the
Mm.
same nature, or maybe we don't know what else could happen out there in the future. But if we are going to be equipping them with those skills, then the response, the strategy, and even the societal response to that, I think that's going to
Mm.
be so much better. And then we sort of draw those numbers up so that we are on par with how the world handles it. Because let's face it, if
Mm.
we take a look at most African countries, our response, our response strategies, our response timing in comparison with other countries, I mean, there's lots that we can say about that. But I do
Yeah.
think that if we want to be proactive, we can learn the lessons from the COVID-19 situation. And I think
Mm.
that can inform our teaching. And that can result in better learners that will solve problems better and maybe quicker than what it has been done in the situation.
Yeah. Absolutely. 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 This is going to require resilience on the part of the educators too. Because it's a lot of work. Change is hard work.
A lot of
Change
work.
is hard work. It's going to require a lot of resilience. As we work with schools, it's not been easy. So we have to be resilient to ensure that we just keep at it and we stay with educators, we work with them every week, providing support system, ensuring that it's it requires a lot of resilience on part of the educators. The educators need to know that the landscape has changed, right? The landscape has changed. There's a heavier demand. There's a heavier demand from you as an educator right now. You need to be very resilient because you are now preparing these kids for a world that is more complex than ever and will become more complex than ever, right? So a lot of resilience is required from educators. And of course, it's in demonstration of resilience that you also inspire your learners correctly. You inspire them rightly. So they will often follow what you do, in the classroom, leading by example. Um, you know, uh, so when they see you making some moves, when you come to the classroom and you're sharing with them some goals that you have achieved, and what it took to achieve those goals, some moves you have made to create some things for them in the classroom, you know, how you have to go look for professionals, to just help them have some interview chats in the classroom and all of that. So these learners understand that, so this is what this looks like, so they just follow suit and begin to learn um, resilience. And they will learn resilience mostly by engaging with complex problems. I think we have to go to that. They will learn resilience mostly resilience cannot be explained. It can't be explained. It can be. It has to be. It has to be experienced and cultivated. It's a skill that has to be. So they are going to learn resilience real time by engaging with complex problems. That's just saying again that we embed complex problem into the tool.
Can you
That's
repeat
not.
that again?
Yeah. So we need to embed complex problems into case tool. This has not been our thing right from the time. So K12 has been known
All
only
right.
for.
We're having some sound issues there again. I'm so sorry to ask you to repeat.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I'm happy to do that. So I was saying that we need to um, intentionally embed complex problems into K-12.
Correct.
We need to embed complex problems into K-12 because
Correct.
dealing with complex problems the way that these kids learn resilience. That's the only way. That's the only way. That's the only way. That's the only way. And my I look forward to an education system that is able to affect our societies and our economy real time. In fact, I believe that our society should be their classroom, our economy should be their classroom. I believe what should be their. No, I just keep saying that we our schools need to break down their walls, like break down their walls, right? We need to bring the world into the classroom. I believe that the globe is their classroom, the society that's their classroom. That's what they should be dealing with every day. We shouldn't separate these kids from engaging with their reality. There are many realities facing us. They need to engage with it and early, early, early. Imagine if stay for 12 years in a system where all they were preparing you for, right, was for complex stuffs. Spending 12 years, especially from the secondary level, where they begin to expose these kids to everything they are doing every day involves the society, right? So when educators are preparing lesson plans and all of that, they are considering the context, right? So we'll come to a time where we need to look beyond textbooks, right? Like I said before, no textbook can tell you what is happening today, right? So context must determine content, right?
Correct.
The context has to determine content, right? So we have to look at the context. What is happening? What is going on, right? We have to keep pulling into the classroom, right? And as we keep doing that, what we're doing is that we are helping the leaders of tomorrow to be able to solve the problems of tomorrow. Because if they are the leaders of tomorrow, they need to be able to. We need to start, facing them with the problems, the likely problems of. We know the problem of tomorrow, but we have the likely problems of tomorrow right now. We know the likely problems tomorrow, so we need to engage them with it because that's the only way. That's the only way. This is by design. This is the mistake that we have as a system prior to this time, right? We have taken it easy. Oh, we feel they are kids. Oh no, they are kids. They are
Complacency.
young. Yeah, exactly. That word again. Complacency. Oh, they young. Let's let them just have fun. Oh, that day has gone. That day has gone. We are now in a day where the expectation from kids is so high. We know what kids are doing today. We know what kids are doing today. We need a system that's able to affect our society and our economy at large. And the only way we can have such an education system, right, is to connect school to society. We need connected schools. We need connected schools. Is to connect school to the economy, right? We need these kids to interact, to interface with content that are based on context, What is happening? What is happening? That happened last year. We need to get these kids into analytical thinking, where they're analyzing what is going on. Educators, we have to look beyond this. We need to strike a balance between what the state and the standards are asking for and what the reality is asking for, right? Because one thing we've seen again is that there is that exam pull system, right? The whole learning just gravitates towards an exam. The whole learning is trying to write an exam. One thing doesn't follow that track, right? It's not informed. And that's why we all have to do. or education system is exams. I'm not the so some
Please, can you
what
repeat?
just
Okay, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that part?
yeah, so
We need an education
yeah,
system.
yeah. So we have a system that prepares kids for an exam, for examinations, right? So the end is an examination. So all of the effort, everything, all the energy, everything is towards these kids being able to pass an exam. We have taken that as the ultimate. I mean, that's not enough. We have taken that as the ultimate. If they are able to pass the exam, they have done well. They have done well. And no, we don't want that again. We don't, after we won and the vision for the country, Africa will know that that can no longer be the norm.
Mhm.
That has become the place we are today. We need something like the tech has to do that.
I've
Is
lost
that
you.
now?
I'm sorry, I've lost you again.
Fine. Yeah, so I was saying that the benchmark is something like exam. We need to induct them into lifelong learning, where these kids understand that they have the liberty.
Okay, I think our sound is disappointing us now. I can hear that you are speaking to examination and how when the education system is examination focused, how that's the disappointment to the educational process. I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah,
And that's
exactly,
where we should shift our focus from. Our focus should not
exactly.
be on the exam-based approach. Instead, it should be
Mm,
experiential learning. And this is
yeah,
what we touched on last week in our previous session also. So I'm sure teachers are sitting out there, or educators, or our listeners are probably sitting out there and go like, so what is it that we should do? And I think I just would like to come in there, and I'm going to take us right back to the global risk report because we are being told what exactly it is that we need to do. There are two interlinking factors that we need to pay attention to. If we want the kind of response that is going to be beneficial, and this is where education comes in, we need to work on this. Um, Readiness to adjust. Now we can think about this again. We can go back to the COVID situation. We can go back to governments, to schools, to communities, to families as it is. Readiness to adjust is something that we need to make sure we teach because if a situation crops up, we need to be able to adjust. That's one of the factors that we need to work on. Principle based decision making. I mentioned it before. What does that mean? If we think about it, so how do we teach somebody to make principle based decisions? Well, it has to school level. And we can't necessarily do that with a paper based examination. We need to have
yeah,
these practical situations in class where things like this can be practiced.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
effective communication. So, if you are simply answering a question on a piece of paper, there's not much value in what you have accumulated as content and how you actually communicate that in a real life situation. So, there's
Mm,
value in teaching effective communication as well. What is it then that we are saying that teachers need to change in the classroom, that we need to take a look at doing differently? Because like we said last week, we are unable to just take curriculum apart. It doesn't work anymore, and we're not doing that because that too is the process. But what we are saying is we
mm,
want to highlight that there are important skills that need to stand out in the classroom. Analytical skills. You need to be analyzing things and having effective communication about that. Collaboration is one of the most important skills I feel nowadays, especially because
mm,
different learners have different strengths, different talents, different skills sets. There's that word again. So we need to know how to guide learners to be open to collaboration, to share strengths so that a problem can be solved. can be solved. So we had that situation in a classroom environment as well. With all of that comes decisiveness as well. So if you are an effective collaborator, an effective communicator, that also implies that you have to have a level of decisiveness as well. And we need to be able to teach towards that as well. How do we teach learners to be more decisive? If you're decisive, you'll be because you have more links. Um, we also spoke about how accuracy and analytical skills are important skills that learners need to possess in order for them to be able to make that informed decision about whatever it is they're working with and being able to communicate that effectively. But I think it's tolerance, it's confidence, it's calm resolve that we also need to instill in our learners, because there's still a level of insecurity when it comes to that. Because if you just have to sit and listen to a teacher, you're not practicing that. So I hope that the skills that I've highlighted would be of some use to educators who don't know how do they go about this, because we can't change the curriculum at this point. But we can now
yeah,
take a look at the content that we are delivering, and we can marry this with the skills that we are saying we want to equip learners with, so that we can get towards this place, get to the place where we want to be. It's not linear curriculum. We have to change the education system. Um, this is something that has to happen continuously. It's not like we want to change something that happened a couple of years ago so that we can
yeah,
replace it
yeah,
with something better. I love what you
yeah,
said. It is context that needs to inform content. The global
yeah,
risk report is important to us because this is what
mm,
we are doing. We are providing the context. What is the context?
mm,
We are at risk. We are at risk
mm,
not only as individuals, we are at risk as
mm,
communities, as countries, as continents, as the whole globe. We are at risk
mm,
as the universe. We're going
yeah,
further. We are going
yeah,
further. The universe is at risk. So, this
yeah,
is what we are saying. This is the context that we are providing. This is the reason why we are having this series, because we now know what it is that we can expect, or most of what we can expect. So if this has been highlighted for us, if we knew in 2019 what was said in 2060, then maybe
mm,
if we hadn't been as complacent, our
mm,
readiness to face this and mitigate would have
mm,
probably been slightly better than what we had.
yeah,
So what is the bottom line? The bottom line is we need to work on our readiness so that we have learners that are prepared, because they're going to be the next generation that has to deal with this. So
yeah,
that's why I say it's not linear, it's going to be continuous.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's a good place for us to begin to bring this conversation to close. You have just done justice to what it should look like. Yeah. So, and if we go for this, again, we are going to be proactive, and there are so many things we're trying to teach the coming generation. Um, we're trying to we're trying to create an atmosphere for them where they will be so empowered, right? They'll be so empowered, and when they go out there, they want to solve any problem. Mindset. They get out there, they are just they are just full of energy, so full of information and
Yeah.
skills, and they just want to solve the problems, even without being pushed, without any. They just want to solve the problems, right?
Yeah.
We see something that looks like that right now. A number of startups that are coming up, so trying to solve one or two problems here and there and all of that. But we know 2030 and beyond, there's going to be there's going to be a lot of startups, thousands and a whole lot. But these people are going to be a product of the kind of system we're talking about. They are going to be a product of lifelong learning. They are going to be a product of skill-based learning. They are to be a product of authentic learning. They are going to be a product of disruptive learning. They are going to be a
Of
product of distance.
agility.
Yeah, exactly. Agility. Yeah, they're going to be a product of agile based learning. Yes, they are going to be a product of these things that we're talking about. And so when they are not in the school premise, because of how they have interacted with reality, with problems, with current things happening, they want to do something because they have built that mindset. They have the problem solving is a mindset. It's really a mindset. It's a mindset. It's a mindset that when you see problems, you just want to dabble in this. You're thinking of a solution, and then you're coming up with strategies and all of that. Trying to display some strategic intelligence and strategy. I like when you talk about response strategy, right? So they just so we need to help them do these things. And when that happens, we can be sure that in the future of Africa, we're going to be rejoicing because these young people, knowing that we have the youngest population of youth globally, the African continent has the this young people are going to solve the problems, and we're going to have less problems to talk about. Right? Today, we have many problems to talk about because 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there was a system that existed that couldn't take us farther than where we are today. But right now, we have taken the bull by the horn. We have taken the bull by the horn. And so we want to rather have systems that can create a better future for Africa that we are going to be proud of. That we're going to be proud of. Um, yeah, that we're going to be proud of. Thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you for highlighting those numbers and for giving a list of those things. So our conversation here is practical, is raw. We just want to move everyone listening out there to take a step. This is not the time to complain. This is we are the ones Africa is waiting for. We're the one Africa is waiting for. Wherever you are in Africa, right? So I'm the one Nigeria is waiting for. This is not the time to complain. This is the time to take moves. This is the time for action. We all have to go and start doing something, right?
Nothing counted.
Yeah, exactly. In our space, we have to start doing something for Africa and not talk about the problems anymore. We know that the future will be bright for Africa, and 8 to 12 is where it starts from. Is where it starts from. And it's going to
Yep.
happen. Africa is going to be great
And
in
we
the
need
future.
to take each other by the hand. That's what this is about.
Yeah,
It's. I think we mentioned this in the last session as well. If you have out there that you can avail to us, please reach out and tell us. Look, this is I have this company. I can offer a learnership. I can offer a mentorship. Those are the kind of things we are looking at. We are looking at collaborating with people who are like-minded, people who see the
yeah,
seriousness of the situation in the same way we do, and people who want to be proactive. So
yeah,
our
yeah,
research is not just research. We don't just want to find out the facts and share the facts with you. We also want that to translate into something meaningful and effective. And
yeah,
I think that when we go into the follow-up session, we want to be more solution-based. We want to come up with the kind of solutions that we have highlighted as ways to assist. So it would be a good idea to follow us and to stay tuned to see what we have for you, because
yeah,
I think that that's ultimately why we are here. Let's do this. Let's help each other and let's create
yeah,
an informed, empowered generation.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much once again. Thank you, Teresa. So to everyone that is able to view, connect to this conversation, thank you. And we're sorry once again that we start on time today. And but we are glad that we are able to again have this conversation. And we look forward to seeing the great things you do in your space as an educator, as a school leader. Please feel free to share them with us. We want to see the great things you're doing. You feel free to reach out to us. We can discuss, we can brainstorm, we can have some conversations together, and together we can keep moving things forward in our little ways that we can wherever we are. All right. So it's a good to end the conversation today. Once again, thank you, Teresa, for the wonderful contributions. You know, like you said, you can follow us. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Yeah, of course. Our best place is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best platforms among these ones mentioned. It's a professional, global platform where we have people across the globe. We have a global community. People that we connect with. We're having conversations. We're brainstorming. We're pulling things together. Right. So connect with us, and we'll be glad to hear from you. So until we'll see again, this is what we'll call it a day. But before I go, I want you to know that we're going to be starting a new series in this conversation, and it's going to be with HR professionals. So we'll bring in HR human resource professionals to the show to come and tell us what are the things that we're seeing right now in the workplace that schools must put into consideration, right? We have them from we have HR professionals, from here and Africa, other places across the globe. Just for them to come and tell schools. It's like telling the schools, this is what you prepare your children for, because this is the reality right now. We want to bring it down to it, mhm, right? So that we can
Make
school
it
leaders,
simple.
yeah, make it simple. So school leaders don't want to miss that those series of conversation, right? You get to really understand what you should be doing, what you should focus on, right? As this HR professionals will be giving us a lot of insight, right? Okay, so we'll call it a day for today, and we'll see you very soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your resilience.
Thank you, thank you for
Thank
listening in.
you. Bye bye.